Okay, today I'm going to attempt to make something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And what I'm going to use for this is, of course, chicken wire. I have 2 rolls this time because I think I might need a little extra. I will be using some moss to line it. I do have another bag because this is going to be a larger topiary. The heavier gauge galvanized wire that I normally use, along with my florist wire. I have my snips and of course my pliers. One thing that I don't have here that I will probably be using is I will be using my Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel. The reason for that is I'm going to be trimming these tomato cages down a little bit, and I think you can cut them with wire cutters, but I know it's pretty hard. So the Dremel with a cutoff wheel is probably the most efficient way to do that. So when you get your 2, sorry for all the noise, but when you get your 2 tomato cages, you want 2 different sizes, one smaller than the other. These ones here, let me see if they give me a size. So one says it's 33 inches, and the other says it's 42 inches, but I think that's the height. What's really important is on the larger tomato cage, you want the bottom ring of the larger tomato cage to match the middle ring in size. They need to be the same size. The middle ring of the small tomato cage and the bottom ring of the large tomato cage. I think I finally got that right. Okay, so I'm going to pause this, but what I'm going to be doing is on the large tomato cage, I'm going to be trimming off all the extra wire. I will probably leave, I'm going to try using it to attach the 2 cages together. So to start off with, I'm going to leave about 1 inch just to make a hook to attach it to the other tomato cage. The smaller tomato cage, I will be trimming just below the middle ring. So there will be 2, the largest one and the bottom one, and that's it. I'm going to trim the rest off. So I will be back. Okay, so once you've trimmed the tomato cages, I hope you had a Dremel tool and a cutoff wheel. Just remember the wire where you've cut it can be pretty sharp, like razor sharp. We're going to set the bottom part aside. If you haven't already figured it out, we're making one of those dressmaker forms, only we're not going to pay, I think they run about $100, maybe more. We're not going to pay that much. The small tomato cage was $1.89 Canadian. The large one was $2.49. My rolls of chicken wire were $3 each at the dollar store. So yeah, it's going to be a lot less. So set aside the part that you would use for the skirt, the bottom, and we're going to focus on the bodice because women's torsos aren't completely round. So you want to take the larger ring and bend it in to make kind of like an oval. And this is going to be the front center. So if you can see, I've made it almost like a heart shape a little bit, just starting to suggest it. But I kind of want to see if I can make my mannequin or dressmaker form or whatever we're going to call it, my woman, be more womanly. So I'm going to add some wire and see if I can give her just a little more up top, if I can find the end. So this is probably way more wire than I need, but it's easier than trying to work with the whole coil. So your wire already kind of has a bit of a curve to it. So you kind of want to work with that. And I just I try not to kink it. So you just go like this until it's and I don't want to make her huge or anything. I think that's going to work. So I'm going to form this into a ring the same way I always do. And I'm also going to use my florist wire to attach this. So I will come back when that's done. Okay. So sometimes things don't work the way I expect them to, so we're going to do something just a little different. I've cut a new piece of wire, and it's large enough that I have room to figure stuff out. And we're going to make a loop, because you guys don't, well, maybe some of you solder, but I try to keep this as achievable as possible, no matter, you know, what tools you're comfortable with using. So I try to keep everything as simple as I can. So what I've done is, you can see I've made like a small eyelet, and that's going to make it easier for me to attach it to the top rim of her bodice, so that it's not going to slip around, because ladies, we all know what it's like when your bra doesn't stay where it's supposed to, right? So, okay, so it's attached in the center front, and I've cut some pieces of wire so I can start attaching it along the sides, hoping this is going to work. And then I'm just going to had to lower my work desk to make enough room for this, because it's kind of tall, so I'm having a bit of a hard time with reaching things. Okay, we have a woman's bodice, and we have a woman's skirt. I'm going to do this as a two-part topiary, and the reason is I'm not planning on planting this one with succulents, because it's quite large and it would take a huge investment in plant material. I'm going to use annuals instead. I mean, come on, you can buy a flat of begonia for, you know, next to nothing. And I'll probably use like some ivy and some spider plant and stuff. I just think if I do it two parts and then attach them together for planting, that it's going to be easier to store the topiary over the winter. I think it's going to be easier to fill and line with moss if I treat it as two separate halves. I just think it's all around going to be easier to work with. If you want to do yours in one piece, by all means, go ahead. You just need to attach the bottom of your bodice to the waist of your skirt and proceed. But I am going to do mine in two parts. Wrapping the chicken wire, it's going to be the same procedure as with any of my other topiary. Using florist wire to attach it to the frame, and I will see you when I've got that part done. Okay, so right now I have my topiary frame assembled, ready to line with moss and fill with soil. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty intimidated by the idea of lining this with moss and filling it with soil, because it's taller than my arms are long, so I'm going to have to kind of fill from the bottom and the top. And if you're following along and if you're making one of these for yourself, this is kind of the point where you really need to ask yourself, do you want a filled and planted topiary? Do you want something that will go in a planter to add height, or be added to your garden to add height? Because you don't really have to fill this and plant it. You could also just use it in your garden as a decoration. Or you could put it in a pot and say plant maybe the shrub. There's a shrub that works perfectly for topiary. I will include the name in the blog post when I think of it. That middle-aged thing is kicking in and I can't come up with the name at the moment. But you could always put this in a pot and plant one of those in the center, and if you're very patient, you could use this as a frame and a guide for clipping your shrub to make true topiary. So at this point, before you start lining and filling the frame, you know, really kind of take a look at your space and where you're going to put it and decide what you actually want to do with it. If you've checked out my owl that I made, and it's on the blog as well, it started off as a topiary and I didn't like it, so I removed all of the moss and the soil and the plants, and then I used it in an herb planter, and I really like it in there. So like I said, you know, just before you go on to the next step, maybe take a look and decide what you really want to do, because nothing says you have to do it exactly like I'm going to. And I'm going to pause for now while I wrestle with how I'm going to line this with moss and fill it with soil.